Welcome back to Piece of Chaos. After a little bit of a break, here we are. Another month has flown by. It is April's almost in the books, April 2025, and it's been a crazy one. I figured I'd tell you a little bit about something that I learned this past week. I attended the LVLUP Expo in Las Vegas. I have not been to Las Vegas in a long time. Maybe 10 years or so. The last time I was in Vegas. Maybe it wasn't that long, but it's been a while. And Vegas goes through transformations. There was a period of time in the early 2000s when I first moved to California, when Vegas was going through a bit of a transformation. They were trying to appeal to kids, families. It didn't really work. You might have had some kid-friendly activities, and you'd still have to walk down the street and get the little flip cards with strippers on them. So it was never really for kids, but they did their best. And so I got to go quite a bit to Vegas there for a couple of years, but then it got really expensive, and then COVID, and gambling is a waste of money, and it just kind of loses its appeal. But anyway, I went to Vegas. And this time I went to this LVLUP Expo. Now my son is super into independent animation. I support that, obviously. It's cool, but I had no idea. How huge it was. I mean, this wasn't... I was picturing a small conference with, a few people sitting at little conference tables, and we'd get to talk to them and sign gifts or sign autographs and buy some merch. So I knew the activities, but I had no idea the scale. There were thousands and thousands and thousands of people in costume and in homage to these shows, dressed up like the characters, dressed up like the cartoons, video game costumes. It was, Comic-Con, but for games and anime and independent animation. And it was amazing to see some of the creativity of the costumes that people wore. Seeing, people literally dressed in real life as cartoon characters that are so intricate and wild. It was awesome. We had a blast. My son had a blast. The highlight for me had to be meeting and shaking the hands of the cast of Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go. I love that show. And I watched it with my son when he was younger, and we were late to the game. I think we started watching it after it had already not been on the air for a little while. The first time I saw it was in the Teen Titans Go movie. And I was like, what is this? And we went back and just watched them all, and it was hysterical. And some of my best memories, laughing so hard before, I would put him to bed, and we would watch one episode of Teen Titans before bed. And, maybe two, because they were like 20 minutes long. So, and there was 2 episodes. So they were 10 minutes long, and each episode had 2 mini episodes in it. So 20 minutes or whatever. And I remember laughing harder than I've ever laughed at some of those with him. Just the joy of watching them with him and being silly for 20 minutes before bed. Just such great stuff. So got to meet the voice actors of of it. And, my son's interested in voice acting. He's interested in animation. And it was just this culmination of all of his favorite things. And I was just marveling at the scale of it and the, virtual, the people who are the stars of these things are famous to the people that love them, but they are not famous by any stretch. And, I don't know how much money they're making, but I think it's got to be a decent amount. A lot of these shows end up on Prime and Hulu. They go from a YouTube independent thing into a real, a big network. But the creative, they're leaving all the creativity up to the animators because it takes so long to do animation. And so they just kind of let it go and give it a platform and blow it up. And it's amazing. It's amazing to watch. I mean, this woman, Vivian Madrano, started a whole universe of cartoons called the Hellaverse. It's these like raunchy adult humor, but deeply existential and kind message wrapped in raunchy humor in a lot of ways. And she created this whole thing called the Hellaverse, and all these characters that people love and dress up as and buy the toys and buy the merch and posters, and they get posters signed and Funko Pops and all of this stuff. I was blown away. And it's like, I know this exists. I've heard of Comic-Con. I know like The Walking Dead has, big conferences and stuff like that. I realize it exists. I think I was just blown away that the scale of it for this stuff. I don't know. It was really fantastic, really amazing. Vegas still not my favorite though in general. It's weird. It's a novelty. I feel like you have to go at least once in your life and see it. Because it is unlike anything else. I mean, it's literally a city in the middle of a desert. Has no reason to exist, in that way, in that shape. It has no business having grass. Has no business having world-class golf courses, but it does. It's fascinating. It's such a strange place. People from all over just come in there and get crazy. People can walk up and down the streets with gigantic tubes full of drinks. It's like New Orleans, in that way. But New Orleans is, the town, Bourbon Street, is historic. It's been there for a long time. Those buildings were made that way because they had style and they used French architecture and made it look cool and did ironwork and crafted those things. And it was a special place. Vegas looks like it, but it's like a facade of it in a lot of ways. I was staring at the Venetian, for example, and they have this, it's beautiful. The Venetian hotel is incredible, and it just looks, it's, a replica of what architecture looks like in France actually. And I didn't look this up. I should look this up, but I don't want to not give them credit if credit is due, but I can't imagine it took the same amount of time. I don't think they had craftsmen carving marble work into the into the building. I think it's just stamped concrete that they painted because you never get that close to it, and it looks good, But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should look it up. But free show. I'd rather live in wonder. I was out with friends for dinner, and we were having a conversation, and every time something came up that we didn't know the answer to, we couldn't help but figure it out, couldn't help but look it up on our phones. And I reminded everybody of the Pete Holmes bit where he just wanted to live in the world where he didn't know where Tom Petty was from and could live his whole life not knowing and making it up if he wanted to in conversation, and nobody would really check him. Pete Holmes is so good, but I mean, it's really crazy. Like, there's no excuse to not know something. You really can't just talk out of your ass unless you decide to. Maybe there'll become a premium on that, like internet free. I guess that's kind of what's going on with the government right now. You can just say whatever you want, and whether it's true or not, it's crazy. I don't want to get into it. It's depressing. I don't want to get into it, but maybe I have a guest planned that I think I'm going to talk to about some of this stuff. Try to level set my growing anxiety about the state of things in the country. But I can't talk about it now because I don't know. And it's depressing, and I don't want to talk about it right now. And I'm so glad you're back. At least thank you for giving me the grace to take a month off or so. But yeah, highly recommend all of this animation. If you want to look up the shows, I've watched pieces of them. One of them is called Hazbin Hotel, Hazbin Hotel, and it's about this. I think it's the daughter of Satan is in hell, and she opens a hotel for people she thinks can be reformed and make their way out of hell. And it has Broadway level music. I think one of the guys who stars in it is actually a Broadway star. He was in Hamilton. He's fantastic. He's a great voice actor. I heard him talk on one of the panels. I mean, the songs are good. They're high level, musical, comedy, raunchy comedy musical. It's pretty great. But yeah, if you want to check out that whole scene, it's huge. I mean, it was 3 straight days of thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people lining up to hear them talk about the show and drop new special episodes of things and make announcements. And I mean, I can't even imagine the amount of money they took in just to sit down and get somebody's signature. Minimum was like $30 to have them sign something for you, but you usually had to buy a poster for them to sign, and that was more money. You could get a picture or a selfie with them, that was more money. And it was just great. I was like, man, good for them. Like, that must be so cool to get to meet your fans, make some money, have a fun weekend with your castmates, your fellow creators, no pressure. They obviously were having a good time, like, not just because it was Vegas, but just, I mean, what a great thing. Every single person that comes up to you is like, I love your stuff. Like, I mean, sure, it might get weird sometimes, and some people can get super obsessed and all that, but if it comes with the territory, then majority, 99.9% of the people are just excited to meet you, and it's a highlight of their life. Like, what a great energy to just be around. And I think that was the light of the whole thing, was that there wasn't a single bit of like negativity in a gigantic conference center full of thousands of people, all just celebrating their love of this little niche section of entertainment. And it was beautiful. It was like the possibility of good and positivity of the internet come to life in a building, in a gigantic building, for 3 straight days. Like, I guess it's like if you like a band and they have a festival. Like, I used to go to the Fish 3-day weekend camping excursions in like abandoned airfields in Maine. They would have a concert for 3 days, and you're with 100,000 people or whatever, and they all love Fish, and it's just fun. And everybody's got good vibes, that's what this was, but for animation. And it was incredible. So, highly recommend. In other news, I have become, sort of by choice and sort of by necessity, I've become a bit of a hoarder when it comes to snare drums. So, completely veering off into another niche market. People who give a shit about snare drums, but I guess there's a lot of people that give a shit about snare drums, but because my band, Temple of the Dads, plays, heavy rock, 90s grunge rock, and I hit the drums hard, as it should be. And, when you play in large venues, largish venues, proper clubs, what have you, where there's sound reinforcement and they mic your drum kit and they control the sound and the room has been treated for sound, and to be able to control the sound of live instruments, having a loud snare drum is fine. But when you play in a dive bar that has not really been treated for sound but likes to have live music, most people do not have the tolerance for how loud a Ludwig Black Beauty snare drum actually is when someone hits it very hard for 2 or 3 straight hours. Now, I have ear protection. My band has ear protection. My ear protection is molded to my ears so that any damaging frequencies are cut out. So, to be honest, I don't really hear how loud it is because it sounds perfect to me with my molded earplugs in live mix. And when I play in rehearsal, I have soundproof headphones that I play to. So I'm not damaging my hearing, and we always suggest that people wear earplugs. We hand out earplugs at our shows if people would like. We put on a 90s show, and if you are old enough to remember going to live music shows in the 90s, they were loud. And you wore earplugs if you didn't want your head to ring for a day afterwards and thus create hearing damage. And I was always pretty good about that. From the time I wasn't until I was about 21 or 22 maybe, I started wearing earplugs, which is bananas because I had already been touring by then, I think. Yeah, we would have been maybe not touring, but definitely doing shows. We were definitely doing shows from the time I was, I was playing shows all through high school. So playing live with no ear protection for probably a decade, playing drums for about a decade with no ear protection before I started wearing them. So, shit was loud in the 90s. We were loud. And so if I want to see an authentic rock show that's trying to play the 90s songs, I want to see the drummer play like they played in the 90s, which is like I played in the 90s, which was like all the drummers played in the 90s, which was loud. Otherwise, it just doesn't feel right. We played a show a few weeks ago at a place I really liked, and I'm not even going to name them because whatever. You can look it up if you really want to know. But we played a show at a place. It was our second time playing there. We really enjoyed it the first time. The crowd was great. Bartenders were great. Setup was great. Everything was great. We had a blast, so we couldn't wait to get back there. Well, this time there was different people working, and, they have rules that they told us about volume, and we did turn down our volume, but you can only go so low at some point. If you're going to have a band that has live instruments and a real drum set it's going to be loud, and it's just what it is. If you want a shitload of people in there drinking a bunch of beer, listening to music and singing along, you have a live band. If you don't want a live band, or if you want a band that just is background music, don't hire my band. Right. Pretty much. Unless we're determined to play like an acoustic-y kind of show. We can do that too. We can do the unplugged thing, but it's not as much fun. It's fine, but it's not as much fun. We are available for that, by the way. Backyard parties, whatever. But we had expectations that we were playing a regular show, regular volume, and the manager just kept coming over to us a whole first set, like every other song, showing us a decibel meter, telling us we were playing too loud. We had to turn down. If we don't turn down, we have to shut down. And it was annoying. He kept just like interrupting our show and making us turn down, to the point where I stopped using real sticks and started using bundle sticks just to shut him up so he would go away. And he still kept coming. And I was like, dude, we can't turn down anymore. And people that were there to see us were asking us in between songs why we were so low. They couldn't hear the guitars. They couldn't hear anything. And it was really frustrating. So we're never playing there again, I don't think. We made that pretty clear. But what we did do was, after we took our set break and we went back on, we were like, well, he says if we get too loud, he's going to shut us down. We're pissed and we don't want to play here now anyway, so let's just turn back up and play regular, which was pretty rock and roll for us old dudes. And we did that. We just turned up and played, and he didn't come back, and we finished the set and it was fine. And now we won't play there anymore. And it just was annoying. But anyway, all this to say that some of the venues that we play have volume issues when it comes to the snare drum. And every snare drum has very different qualities. And I'd already had a few different ones. I already mentioned that Ludwig Black Beauty, but it's loud, it's metal, it's big, it cracks, it sounds so good. It's just the most beautiful sounding snare drum you've ever heard. It's probably the snare drum you've heard on most of the recordings that you heard in the 90s were probably a Black Beauty, maybe a Keplinger here and there. Soundgarden, I think, used Keplinger. Sunny Day Real Estate uses Keplinger. Black Beauties are pretty standard studio instruments. I love that thing. It's fantastic, but it's loud. It's loud. It's loud. So I've been experimenting with different snare drums to try and bring the volume down so I don't have to really change generally the way that I play, and that I want my snare to, in the 90s, the snare was over the mix quite a bit, heavy in the mix quite a bit, but you don't want it to overpower a room. If the whole thing is equally loud, that's fine. You just don't want it to be loud and then have snare coming in on top of it, just busting your eardrums out. So I've been needing to experiment with different snare drums, different depths, I even have different depths, different materials, different woods. And I think I have landed on something that's a good compromise, and that is a wood deep. It's I think it's a 6.5 by 14 Gretsch snare drum. It's Gretsch Catalina Club, so they're okay quality. They're not top line, I wouldn't say, so I don't feel like I'm going out buying the equivalent of a bunch of Black Beauty snare drums, but they sound great for the setting, right? So I have a whole set of Gretsch Catalina Club drums because they are quieter. They are lighter shell, just smaller shells generally, and they've been great. They've been great. So I just got another one because I want to see if a smaller depth. The one I've been using is like I said, I think it's a 6.5 by 14 Gretsch Catalina Club, and I just got a standard 5 by 13, so it's a little smaller, and I want to see if that slides in a little bit nicer into the mix. But as I list out on my snare drums, I was like, boy, I might have a problem. I need to stop. I have a snare for every occasion at this point. I think part of the problem is that I have them in their cases and stored. They're not out on a shelf where I can see them and see my problem. And I'm wondering if I have them available visually, it might help me realize I have an issue. I need to stop acquiring snare drums. There's no need for one individual to have that many snare drums. But actually, that's not true. There's never enough. They're such unique instruments, and everyone has a story. Maybe I'll do a snare story podcast. Talk about my snares individually, because they all do have. If they don't have character, because no, they all have something. I mean, the ones that I've had for a long, long time, obviously, I have a lot of stories about and a lot of history with. And when I hear those drums, when I play them, as I said, I've been kind of going through all my snare drums at rehearsal to give them all a go, and they all have very unique qualities. They all have different, like, tone and attack and depth, and they just. But some of them bring back so many memories because of so many shows that I played with those particular drums, tours, recordings, just. I'm making new memories with my new snares, and they do have a backstory and a purpose and a reason to them. I even was able to let go of one, and I think I might sell another one because they don't have enough soul for me. I bought a snare drum because I was looking to replace one that I sold when I was young. That's a rare instrument that I didn't know how rare it was when I had it. I just needed money, which is kind of the case when you're a young, starving artist, as they say. And, it's one of those I regret selling because it's now, not only can I not find one anywhere, but if I do find one, the price is just crazy. And I'm like, man, I wish I held on to that thing. So I bought one just to substitute for that. If you're familiar with what's called a piccolo snare, they're very they're very low depth. It's like 2.5, 3-inch depth snare drum. They're loud as hell. They crack like crazy. 311. I got one. I wanted to get one because we play 311 songs, and that kind of real tight high snare is what I like to use, a piccolo snare. So I wanted to get one to play that, and I was looking. Then I was like, "Ooh, I'd like to replace that one. Get the exact one that I sold in the '90s. I'd love to find that one." That's how I found out they were so rare. And so I'm still on the hunt for that. But I was like, "Well, I need one in the meantime," and I bought one that just doesn't have any soul. It's a piccolo snare, but it's not my favorite. It's fine. I might sell that one because I don't really need it or like it. I'd rather find the just be on the quest to find my my Tama Artwood Bird's Eye Maple piccolo snare. If anybody out there has one or is on goes to yard sales or something, maybe you could find that for me. That I want back. That one. I wish I didn't sell that one, but alas, it is what it is. Well, I did not expect to ramble this long, but I guess I had some things to tell you. So thank you so much for listening. Keep the emails coming. Keep the, I see the downloads and I'm humbled. I've had a couple great guests recently, and I will continue to book folks here and there and try to get you at least an episode, maybe 2 a month, is about all I can do, given the workload and the frequency of my other podcast, Humanity Working. It's really keeping me busy, and we're doing a weekly there, which is a lot of work. But I'm excited about it and very happy with the progress. So thank you for listening, and thank you for continuing to spread the word about Piece of Chaos. And if you have any ideas for guests or people you want to hear me talk to or bring back on the show, I've been trying to get Kim Crawl for a while. She was on the show a couple times, and she's just one of my favorites, and I haven't talked to her in a bit. Maybe Jenna Brister. I'm going to go back through the episodes, the originals, and maybe get some of those folks back, because it's been a while, and I always have great talks with them. So, yeah, Blake Wexler. That motherfucker. Miss him. Okay. And I think I'm going to have Jacob Givens back on. We're long overdue. I spend a lot more time with him now because of the Temple of the Dads, but we don't always get to chew the fat on music and stuff. And his podcast is blowing up as well. So Waterproof Records, and now having him on my podcast is a little lower stakes for him. He doesn't have to produce anything or be responsible. So maybe I'll have him on next couple weeks. So anyway, thanks. Be well, be safe, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening to Piece of Chaos.
I've got you deep in the heart of me, so deep in my heart.